Welcome to the Hospitality Maverick podcast with me, Michael Tingsager. We at Hospitality Mavericks are here to inspire leaders to create hot-centered and profitable businesses from the inside out, the kind that both employees and customers love and support. Thanks to BizSimply for sponsoring this episode as our show partner, and BizSimply is the all-in-one HR, workforce management, rota and operations software designed and built by hospitality experts to make every shift run like clockwork. And we join forces to help the industry to find new ways to become even more innovative in how we lead our people, how we operate, to how we grow our businesses, to how we serve our customers. Together we want to share strategies and tools that can make the industry thrive long term, not just survive.
Our top priority at the minute is people. It has been 100% since coming out of lockdown. Obviously I still don't think anybody has really fully understood what that did to people and people's minds and people's routines and people's habits and all that sort of stuff. And we understood that sort of personally, and we understood that from our team's perspective when they came in.
It was all there in a way. We've just brought that to the forefront of the business and wrapped it all in with that new training, learning and development programs, and sort of just really put that at the forefront of the whole business. And therefore, as I say, that's why we think we've had a really good year. It's, the team is everything. Without good team, we will never succeed in business. So
this time I had the great pleasure of not just being joined by one amazing guest, but two guests from the Escapees Embark Group, Head of Learning Development, Flynn Byrne, and Managing Director, Grant Dexter. And this was the first time I also had somebody from the nightlife on the show. So I was very excited about this conversation because I was sure we could get some new learnings and perspectives that we all could take in to our businesses. In this conversation, they share their learnings of bouncing back from the pandemic and what they have done to ensure they create a workplace that people love and support. And we get specific example of which people's practices they have boosted new life into and how they've implemented a number of new L&D initiatives that boosted performance and engagement from the frontline employees to the management. We also dive into the learnings they've had the last 2 years and what they expect for the future. Before you tune in, please sign up for your weekly newsletter Maverick Talk, which is packed with more Maverick insights, strategies and tools. Find the links in the show notes or visit hospitalitymavericks.com. Now, grab your notebook and drink because you're in for a ride when it comes to optimizing your people practices. I'm really excited today because we are traveling in an online way into the front line of people that's actually been, creating experiences in the nightlife. And I actually think, as I was preparing for this is the first time we have somebody from the nightlife on the show. And I'm very excited about that because it's not like something I obviously hadn't thought about or didn't want to think about. Exactly when they reached out, I thought, yeah, that's obvious. We need to hear what's going on in hospitality when it comes to having parties and having fun and experiences in the evening and the night. So it brings me a great pleasure to invite both Grant and Flynn to the show today. Welcome.
thank you, Michael.
Hi Michael, thanks for having us.
Yeah, and then also it's quite unusual. I've done a couple of times, but also we have two guests today, and you both represent and going to talk about different things for business, but I also think it's really exciting. So we'll do our best to control that and control time as well, because always when you are three people in a conversation. But I can promise you guys out there, we're in for a treat today. We're going to be talking about experiences, of course, and how you create those experiences through great culture. So with that said, I think it's good so I don't butcher your business, Grant, that you maybe get a bit of background, because this is not a business with a good long history.
Indeed. So yes, we'll start off where it first came from, and I suppose where the idea came from. So the business originally was set up by Mel and Phil Harrison. It was a couple who started the business in 2004. The reason at the start of the business was, I think, after they both worked and lived in America for a while, they were just inspired by hospitality in America, the service, and the difference in service in the US compared to what it was in the UK. When they came back, they really wanted to be in charge of their own destiny, and sort of really be able to get out there and show people what hospitality and service should be. And that's where Me and Cat was born in 2004.
Over the years, it's been really interesting as I dive into it. It's not like just one brand, it's a number of brands that's represented under the umbrella. And it's also very interesting that you right now, and you can tell a bit more, I know you're expanding, but you're operating these brands quite close to each other as well.
Yeah, so there's 7 brands now in total, all in one city, 5 of which on one street and 2 on another street in Leeds. Very much, next door to each other. But because the brands are so unique and different, most people wouldn't know or realize that they were the same company because, they're all completely unique.
And what was it that made them take that decision about developing a group of brands instead of saying, we have one brand that works really well and now we're just going to put that literally in the copy machine and do it again and again and again?
Yeah, so I think the sort of the company's organically grown in a way through success from Me and Cat, and then having an opportunity to open Verve, which was actually next door to Me and Cat. So I think originally it's sort of Phil, one of the owners, has the ideas, the sort of, what goes through his head in terms of creativity, and the sort of the themes and brands that he's come up with are never ending, really. We probably could have 20 different brands if we continued on that journey. And I think that's why, we've ended up with 7 unique ones because of the creativity that Phil has.
And you are now looking at expanding, I know, and you're taking the brand further on Leeds. Can you share a bit about that and why you made that decision? Because you had a business that's very close together. I guess that gives you a lot of benefits that you're in the same city, you can manage things, but now you're moving outside Leeds.
Yeah, so, it's strange to say over the past couple of years during what has happened, we're actually in the best position that the business has ever been in. We've had a record year. Because of that record year, it's allowed us the freedom now to be able to really start to expand, which was something that Mel and Phil have always wanted to do. During that 2 years, we've built an amazing team. We're 11 strong in our HQ, as we call it. Every one of them people in HQ has come from a working bar background, and a lot of them have worked their way up through different jobs within that. So we very much now have such a strong team that we feel that we can go anywhere really and make that venue a success.
Another thing I was thinking about as you were talking there, Grant, was that what is it that makes these brands or experiences, let's call it that, so unique and different from each other? Because I guess it's very hard actually to maintain 7 different experiences.
Yeah. Sort of trying to keep on top and keep that unique experience for 7 different brands is quite difficult. But I think what makes them different is, the venues themselves are very immersive. For example, you can go into Tiki Hideaway. There's no windows. You really feel like you're in that, Polynesian paradise of visiting a different part of the world, and you sort of just get sucked into that experience, and you end up staying all night type of thing. So yeah.
And one of the things I noticed as well was that when I was looking online, I haven't been in the venues. I've probably gone a bit too old maybe to do that. But I actually noticed as well that it almost seemed like that, you could be have one experience one night, and then you can go from Polynesia and you can go to almost American bar, and you can, rock music as well. And I guess that's also what people are looking for, are different experiences when they go out.
Yeah, you're right. I think, we have, as you say, from that Polynesian paradise, which is Tiki Hideaway, to the Deep South Dive Bar, Johnny Cash themed Me and Cat, for example, at Brooklyn, which is very much a sort of Brooklyn inspired hip hop graffiti cultured bar. That's the thing, we offer so many different experiences. I think we can never become boring on a night out. You can move from one venue to the next, and it's so powerful being able to offer that experience instead of being, one brand, the same thing night on night. And it can become quite boring. I think over the past couple of years, people have really wanted a different, unique experience. And I think that's probably why we've, done as well over the past year since reopening, that we have. So
it's very interesting also, you said you had like a record year, and there's of course pent up demand and so on, but I had, the first time I talked with you and you told me like it's going really well, I thought, can that really be true? Because I just had that feel and have heard on the grapevines that, nightlife was really hit hard, especially in the first two lockdowns, because it was just like there was no way that you guys would have any guests for a long time, because like social distance and Mission Impossible in principle. So what is it that's done, you think, that has been besides pent up demand and is continuing? And you told me before we started, well, like this is just continuing and people are still wants to go out, and we have inflation, we have pressure on living costs and so on.
Yeah, I think one thing that really stood us in good stead when reopening is we didn't just close and come back to work the week before reopening. We, worked really hard. Me and Flynn were sat in the boardroom and on Zoom, literally talking about how can we really improve the business? How can we really, put all of the training, learning, development all in place to really accelerate the business? So we used that time to really, in a way, audit the business, look at it all, and put the key features in place that really drive it. Including, a really slick order and pay app to new cocktail menus at the venues, and, really, really sort of excited for, that first day that you can open to get going. And I think a lot of businesses were quite hesitant. They didn't want to, a lot didn't want to open because of the, having to deal with social distancing and all the rules, and all of the things that came in place with it, really, where we just embraced that change. Diversified the business and really, really drove it forward. So I think that's probably why we've had the year that we have. People have loved the experience and just kept coming back. That the teams are amazing, and that's what people come back for. So we have amazing teams, and that's what made it work for us, I think, this year.
Super interesting. We'll come back to that in a second. One thing I also wanted just to touch on before we need to hear a bit more about the people and the work you mentioned you've done over the lockdown. But what is like your top priorities right now then as a business in the nightlife industry? What is like your top priority right now? It's going well, you're saying, but how do you keep that momentum?
To be honest, I mean, it's Flynn speaking now. I'll take over on that one. You've said that that'll be the last question before we move on to the people, but our top priority at the minute is people. It has been 100% since coming out of lockdown. Obviously, I still don't think anybody has really fully understood what that did to people and people's minds and people's routines and people's habits and all that sort of stuff. And we understood that sort of personally, and we understood that from our team's perspective when they came in. Over lockdown, a lot of it was to do with structure, a lot of it was to do with what we have in place in terms of training and sort of the frameworks that we work off of. But once we came out of lockdown, it was quite plain to see that people were a little bit tentative coming back to work, a little bit all over the place, for want of a better phrase. So the focus went straight onto our people. We knew we needed to make it a comfortable experience coming back to work. We knew we needed to get them behind some of the changes that we'd made over lockdown. And essentially just, my realm and my role is to make sure that we're working in a company that's great for the people that work for us. So we needed to hit the ground running straight away to ensure they are behind the stuff that business-wise we need to be pushing hard,
Yeah, and it leads us into the people, as you said. So over lockdown, Grant mentioned before that you really worked on, you're really defining what it meant for you to be a business after, and when this is over, this is the kind of business we're going to be, and this is what we would like to see from our people. How did you actually develop the strategy and the initiative, and how do you actually make it work? Because I think a lot of people spend the time thinking, but it's all about implementation. We all know that. So when you have to hit the ground running, that's where it starts to become reality, your plans.
100%, and I think we both knew that was going to be the biggest challenge from the get-go before we even started putting things on paper. We knew that was going to be the biggest challenge. We already had a sort of culture in place that we knew needed tweaking. It's a great, exciting, vibrant culture, but it sort of needed reining in a little bit. And I suppose what we knew that we needed to do was first sort of, for Grant just coming in, he needed to meet people and be friendly with the people and make sure people got on with them and they were listening and respected what was being said. From that point, actually practically rolling it out, we started with what I called the Trainer-Palooza, and it was a day just before we were opening up. I think it was about a week before we were fully opening the doors, and it was just a fun day of kind of activities related to the bar, just to get people back inside the venue, get people behind a bar again, holding bottles, pouring liquors, whatever it may be. But it just had a bit of a fun vibe, a few drinks. We were there to see each other again after 2 years. People hadn't been in the same room as anyone else, So the first part was really understanding that we're not coming in and we're going, right, we're a business, get to work. This is the new framework. We're a team and we're a group that all get on with each other. Let's get back in. Let's say hello. Let's do that. And then slowly start saying, here's the things that we've been working on. And on top of that, ensuring that they understand why we were bringing it in and what they were going to get out of it, as well as what we were going to get out of it as a business, was a really huge part of it. And I think, to be honest, it rolled out smoother than I ever could have expected. People were on board pretty quickly because they could see that we were doing it to improve the company as a whole for them, as well as top line profits and all that sort of stuff, which is just is important as well. So.
What was like the top three things you changed to, and where you actually needed the people's engagement? You always need people to drive them. There's some things where you need them more. What was like the top three things, and what did you do specifically to drive those changes?
The top one for me, and really the sole one for me, was a training structure. There wasn't training in escapism before I came in about half a year before lockdown, and then it was, as I say, the lockdown was the time that we really had the time in our heads to start putting things pen to paper and start getting the structure in. The training was my sole sort of focus, and I just built the way that we brought it in is built 3 different workbooks for the different levels. So we have a bartender workbook, a supervisor workbook, and then a management training academy for the upper management now. And we did it probably in a slightly backwards way in terms of going from bottom to top. We started with the bartenders instead of what you would probably usually do is get the managers trained up, and then they can kind of cascade that down. We knew that we wanted to start from the bottom because that's where the service was. And that was the first thing that people coming back into the business, guests-wise, that was the first thing they were going to see. And if you've not been to a bar for 2 years and you walk through the doors and you get the big welcome and you get that great service, which is what we can offer, you're not going anywhere again after that. You're coming back to see us for sure, because that's the first experience you've had in 2 years. So we got the guys on board in terms of just having sort of occasional training sessions, getting them in for inductions, showing them what's there. And in terms of that as well, obviously, I think Grant would probably be able to talk about it a little bit more, but the pay structure and things that we brought in really gave them a reason, incentivized the training. We have a pay structure that pays certified bartenders more once they've certified. And all of our pay now is above minimum wage and in a good realm there. So that was a big one for my role for sure.
Yeah, that's super interesting, because it seems like you had created training programs that's then incentivized. So if you achieve mastery, you in a way get rewarded financially, and also I guess there's also the reward of being good at something, competence and confidence.
You get a little cocktail tin as well as a reward as well when you certify each level, because obviously we make cocktails. So
So talk me through, Grant, a bit about the new benefits program, because that sounds like a really important pillar to support the training, and definitely something that's been talked about a lot, where lots of people are catching up now with proper pay or making sure that people are paid what they need to have a living, in principle.
Yeah, so I suppose picking up in the training, Flynn started off with them blackboard sessions of writing down, every single thing we wanted our teams to know in terms of knowledge, all the skills, everything like that. But I really felt that, if we want them to come in on days off, training days, all that sort of stuff, we have to give them a reason to want to do that. So I was really passionate about bringing in a pay structure that when you get to a certain level, you hit that next pay. There's a real drive and a training program in place for you to be able to move forward again. And when you hit that level, you can then move forward and do that training, hit that level again. So you don't have to stop in a way. You can come in, our program in a way is called Bar Back to Boardroom. You start off as a bar back, you collect glasses, you keep the bars running, you're that sort of really, and if anything, the most important part of a bar working on a busy shift. You start off there, and actually within a number of years, you can be in HQ, you can be in the office, you can be, working with us, me and Flynn upstairs, and the rest of the guys. So that's all in place now. But we felt that it was really important to be able to pay people the right amount of money, not somebody coming in working, 40 hours a week, but still struggling to get by, to be able to have that work-life balance, be able to go out and enjoy a nice meal or be able to buy something nice for themselves from working hard. So we really, really wanted to make sure that balance was there, which includes good pay. I I'm a spreadsheet man as well as, that people person. Flynn will tell you that I love a spreadsheet. It's well known. And I sort of calculated, where we at now, how much do people need to earn to be able to have that good living and, come in and not have to think about, I'm not going to be able to pay this bill this month, etc. So we put the pay structure in, starting off, minimum wage starts off at, $6.56, for example. We don't feel that anybody doing that same bartender job or barback job should be paid any less than anybody else based upon age. Whether you're 18, whether you're 23, whether you're 25, you're doing the same job with the same level of skill, with hopefully that same level of ability that came through the training programs, and therefore you're worth that same amount of money. So we put that pay structure in place. On them rates of pay, we pay more than 30% more than minimum wage on them rates of pay, so that people have that real drive to want to achieve, upskill themselves, be better, as a person, and we can really help them do that. And that goes all the way up to a general manager. Not even mentioning the bonus schemes, and sort of target-driven incentives that we do for the guys as well. So.
And so you do the training, you put new training in place to really get the business reboost and deliver the service you want, and you again incentivize when people show the right behaviors around training. Is there other things, is there one or two more things you did to fuel the opening and where you are now?
I think, like Flynn mentioned before, the culture in a way was already there. Very much the vision and the values and everything of the business was so strong before. Me and Flynn, during that training and working with the rest of the teams, have just really been able to put that at the forefront of the business. Culturally, Mel and Phil have always closed all the bars 4 times a year, took the teams away for what we call an away day. Done incentivized things all of the time, and had an amazing bonus scheme for people to be able to really earn a lot of money. It was all there in a way. We've just brought that to the forefront of the business and wrapped it all in with that new training, learning development programs, and sort of just really put that at the forefront of the whole business. And therefore, as I say, that's why we think we've had a really good year. It's the team is everything. Without good team, we will never succeed in business. So
yeah, and then it leads me to asking the question I have to, staffing crisis. How have you been impacted by that? Because it seems like you had something really good in place from a culture and a foundation that you could build on and then become back even better than you were pre-pandemic. But how have you been impacted by that? Because that's like the conversation I hear all over Europe, all over the world. This is our number one challenge.
I suppose, I think the first thing was, when COVID struck and, all the bars closed, everybody was thinking, do I have a job now? Where's my money coming from? I was one of them people. I joined Escapism 4 days before the lockdown. The first time I seen a lot of the team was me, walking around on that Friday night saying, hi, I'm Grant. And the bar's closed, type of thing. It was such a strange experience. But I think starting out from there, every single person within the business was put on furlough and kept employed. The people that weren't eligible for furlough, including myself, was kept on employed and paid. Mel and Phil were, at that point, that really proved to me, me making that decision to leave one company and come to the other, that solidified that to me after, within a week of moving. And I think because of that, we opened with our teams, our people who, were fantastic bartenders, and we had that really strong core to every single team. Before opening, Flynn done an amazing job running some recruitment days where we got a load of people down, doing it in that really fun way. And we hired, it was around another 20 people, I think, across the group at that time. So when we opened, we had, really strong numbers to be able to deliver the type of service that we wanted. And then since then, the team turnover has been minuscule, really. It's been really, really low. So it seems strange to say, but I don't think we actually had a staff crisis at any real point, apart from when everybody had COVID and people were off isolating. I don't think we have really had that or have seen that in the past couple of months. I think because of, the furlough situation and then the recruitment days and the work that Flynn put into really building the team before opening.
I think just to add to that, I think we've had more original employees come back to work for us than we've actually had that we've lost since because obviously we're growing and the teams are getting bigger and bigger, and the guys that did stick around with us are obviously fairly pleased that they're still here. So the word of mouth getting back to people that may have left for whatever reason in COVID, they're actually coming back, which is great.
That's interesting. That's super interesting. That can't be more proof on you doing something right. What is the next step to continue creating this great employee experience and build culture? I guess that's you, Flynn. What is next? Because now you have a training program again. You have a new benefits program that's connected to the training program in place. What are the next big move you're doing to even solidify that experience?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as I've touched on, the culture was already there and the training has been built around, really, this is sort of what the most special thing for me is, that the training has been built around a culture that was here before I even worked here. And that's kind of what I really wanted to make sure that I did, was not lose any of that. So on that, it's just a continuation of growing that training. We brought in some external programs, mainly focusing on the team's well-being. So most recently, we did the mental health first aid program, which myself and all of the upper management across the group attended. So it's a 2-day course on sort of mental health first aid, which you become an accredited mental health first aider at the end of that, which is great. In terms of that's just as part of the culture. We want to make sure that people feel comfortable at work, no matter what they're sort of going through, no matter what they're feeling, and making sure that they have the right paths and the right people to speak to. Alongside that, we're working with some local drugs and alcohol awareness groups called Forward at the minute as well, just to ensure that if anybody does struggle with that, in our industry, it is unfortunately quite rife, I suppose. You're in close proximity to it, and it is just the sort of the name of the game, I suppose, in the late night hospitality industry. But we want to make sure that people are aware that they have the right path to go down if they do need help, and the right people to speak to if they do feel like it's sort of affecting them in that way. We've done an even bigger push on sort of staff incentives and rewards and recognition. That's something that takes most of my week now, is getting names sent over to me that have had great reviews or have done great things, and ensuring that they're, it's either maybe vouchers, maybe some booze, maybe some bar equipment or whatever it may be, as well as bigger trips with reps that we work with and companies that we work with. We go on trips to, most recent one was to Manchester, to the expo there, and then some sort of tastings and distilleries, and obviously drinks and food in the evening. It wouldn't be a sort of trip away if we didn't. And that's pretty much it. As a company, we do a lot of things locally as well. We've got an industry boxing event on Tuesday, which is a sort of boxing event that they hold in Leeds for charity. It's just, as I say, that the culture is already so strong that I feel like all we can do is just continue to add to it and ensure that really we just keep pushing that culture that we already have. And part of my role is the research side of it, and just keeping my ear to the ground for anything exciting that may come up, or anything ahead of the curve. So
what is your general perception of what's going to happen in hospitality? And you're in the north of England, so we can take take it from that angle. But how do you see the coming period ahead? Because there's like a lot of scaremongering going on. I would say like it's even maybe people see it worse than it's actually gonna be. But there's definitely lots of concern, especially on are people actually gonna stop going out for a period, or are they really gonna reduce it to very few things?
Yeah, it's worrying to see the number of operators and fairly big operators and independent operators closing in different cities. I was talking to Phil about this last week, and we could name 6 across 2 cities that have all closed within the last 7 days. And I think now we're starting to see that reaction to COVID. And whilst the venues were closed, everybody was losing large amounts of money, whether they were having to still pay rents, whether they were paying a number of bills, whether they were in a good position at that time or not, I suppose really affects on where they are now. And I think unfortunately there's going to be a lot more closures coming. If you listen to what the experts say, they say that the high street's changing now. People are out there really looking for an experience. I think the sort of the casual dining has really been hit because of people aren't in the city centres. They're working remotely. They're not in the offices as often as they were. So I think that sort of 5 till 9, 5 till 10 trading period for a lot of casual diners has really been struck. Luckily, we do 80-85% of all we trade from 10, 11 p.m. onwards. We are late night. We are cocktail party, fun, immersive experience. So luckily we, I think, sit outside of that. But I think, there's going to be a lot of casual dining brands, burger sort of places and that stuff like that are really going to get hit.
So what you're saying indirectly, which I actually totally agree with, as I communicate off to the people that have a very, specific, unique proposition that creates like a connection to my experience, to my heart, to my senses, will still have a place, and people will still be belonging to that. And when they go out and spend money, they will probably splash a bit more at it than they would have done before. So being in the middle and being average is not a case if you can't compete on price anymore.
Yeah, I think it's one thing we've never tried to, for example, as you say, compete on price. We've always just stuck at we want to sell this level. We are premium. We want to do that, and I think a lot of it is to do with whether people are working in the city or not. Somebody that works in an office may have went out 2 or 3 times a week, whether it be after work on a Wednesday, Friday, and then maybe went out on a Saturday as well, when they're not working. And I think now it's more driven towards, because they're not in the office and they're not traveling into the city for that drink after work, the emphasis now is more so on, it's back in a way to how it was many years ago, where your main trading periods are Friday and Saturday night. So albeit we trade okay during the week. We've done quite well during the week actually, which is why we've been able to be consistent with the numbers. But I think it's going to continue to be difficult probably for another 6 to 12 months. During that time, we've already seen since COVID. I think there was a stat to say something like, there's sort of was, I think Leeds was like 13% new operators over the past 6 months. So there's new operators, there's new people popping up, taking sites. So I think the high street is really going to change. You're going to see a lot of people go, and a lot of new, really exciting brands hit the high street. So I think it's exciting times to come, because the more great venues you've got there, the more people want to visit that area, that street, that town. So it's only really going to benefit everybody in the long run. But the short term, it's going to be really, really difficult, really difficult. And I'm not. We've talked a lot of positive. We're trading well, we're doing that, but behind the scenes, I'm doing a lot of work on making sure that we can stay there, and we can stay where we are in terms of cost. Energy projects on, can we save money on energy? Can we save money on water? All of them different things to make sure that money is there for the likes of learning and development, so that Flynn's budget is always there, so that we can really keep at the forefront of the business, people.
That's really interesting, because that's, again, as you said yourself, or both have said, is like that's where the uniqueness come from, when the brand's going to be expressed to you through your people. So what about technology? Because a lot of operators have looked at, you talked about efficiencies there and saving. Have you looked at how technology, I don't know, I can't really imagine how technology can work in the nightlife, and maybe you can give me a bit of an insight here, because technology in the operation, I guess, one thing is technology to sell with. I think we all have got that now. We can sell with technology and with our phones or whatever it is. But how are you using technology actually to boost your operation, or is it actually relevant in a bar environment?
I mean, I think in most businesses it has to be relevant in some way. I spend a lot of time with the till systems and things like that, which is just obviously it's a necessity. We need the till systems and whatever. But I suppose on top of that, what we're looking at now and what we kind of looked at from lockdown was the app system, so the order and pay system. We brought that in over lockdown when there was social distancing, and it worked quite well for what we could do and what we were allowed to do. It worked quite well. It meant that we could operate. It meant that we could be there for the for guests and whatever, and always have a bit of a presence on the street, which was brilliant. But it just it didn't beat face to face. It went from being so used and so sort of so important in our operations to absolutely zero use within about 3 weeks. As soon as people got to walk through the door and go face to face to the bar and go back to that kind of lifestyle, which is that experience, as you keep touching on, which is what you come to the venue for. We moved the app system out quite quickly, and that's not a problem to me. It meant I have more time to do other things, so that was good.
I think just to jump in there, Flynn, I think the app, it's strange, when Flynn mentioned it came in and it went out just as quick as it came in type of thing was really strange. I was having conversations with everybody to say, let's monitor this over a number of weeks to see, how much the app's being used, compared to people hitting the bar again. And, Flynn put in sort of 3 different elements of service for whether people were going to the bar, for table service, or for the app, to make sure that everybody was comfortable who visited the venues. But within the first week, app sales dropped to 3%. So 97% of people went back to the bar. They wanted that, that experience, that sort of, the zombies being set on fire at the bar, the sort of talking face to face with the bartenders, just sort of, I think everybody's really craving that from just looking at the phones, ordering drinks for months before. And then I think within another 2 or 3 weeks, it dropped below 1%. And then that was when I said, right, let's pull the plug. The people have spoken. They don't want the app anymore. And then since then, we've left the app sort of sat there in the background in case it was needed. We never knew what was going to happen in terms of possible lockdowns. But we pulled the plug on it in January and just sort of said, we know now, or we're comfortable with, how we're training. We shouldn't need it anymore, really. But yeah, in terms of, other systems, we have things in place like, we have a Planday, which does all of our rotoring, our payroll, etc. So we're looking at software in terms of being able to minimize time for team. So with Planday going in place, managers don't have to sit and fill out a spreadsheet each week on how many hours each employee's worked, and send rotas out, or take pictures and put it in groups and all that sort of stuff. It means that they can do rotas, the sent out via an app. So each member of the team has their own app where their shifts will ping up for the following weeks. And payroll is done pretty much with a click of a couple of buttons on reporting. So we've sort of took out about 20 hours of what we just call dead time on people sitting in an office filling out spreadsheets, to giving them that amount of time back to be on the front line, on the bar with the teams. So that we're looking at certain elements of software to be able to improve, do that. Things like data capture with a CRM system, we have all of them things in place, but we're trying not spend too much time on that in terms of operations. It's more so we use all of the software within the business mainly for either rotoring or then the marketing and sales.
And it's interesting with the time, because that's what really is going to be critical, what you spend your time on. Especially you said, Grant, I think you mentioned, Flynn, that it's important that we keep on improving. So you actually also create the time to improve your business and step outside the day-to-day of lots of doing that needs to happen to run a business. I would like to ask both of you, and you can choose who starts. I really, because like we all gone through this period, and every time I meet a person, I ask this question on the show or not. What has been like your greatest, significant learning in life or leadership over the last 2 years? Because like everybody has something big, because it has been such a unique time in history.
It's very much. The world over the past couple of years has been about a lot of change. There's been so many things happen, changed. I think a lot of people have had so much time to be able to sit back and think of exactly what they want to do, who they want to be. And a lot of that's meant that everybody has had to change within business. We need to be able to continue that. So for me, it's been my head in a way has been rewired into that equation of change to be able to succeed, not just for the business, but personally as well. A lot of people get stuck in the ways that do the same things week to week, month to month, year to year. Time goes past really quickly. So I think for me, it's solidified that in terms of, always look to adapt, to change, to better yourself, to be able to move forward. So I think definitely, equation for change for me has been the big thing.
For myself, I suppose, it's always been something that I've believed, but I think it's something that has just been more solidified over seeing what has happened. And it is just that people definitely have to be the forefront of what you're doing at all times. The people that are involved, whatever it may be, if you can get them sort of on board a little bit more than what they may have been before, they're going to definitely deliver better results for you. We checked in with people through lockdown. We had Zoom meetings. We did stupid, neck nomination or whatever was going on there, and made cocktails and sent videos out and gave each other challenges and stuff. And we kept a community all the way through lockdown, all the way through the sort of 2 years or however long it was going on for. And as we've sort of touched on already, when we came back, everybody was ready to walk through the doors when they opened and really sort of hit the ground running, which to me, it's quite shocking to see something like that for a group as big as we are. So.
I think it's really interesting that also that you talk about actually how to live with change, and then you also talk about how you actually keep on doing something well and really focusing on and not walk away from it, because it's actually now we're doing well on people, but we actually need to drill down. And you talk a bit about what I call the little by little, a little becomes a lot. And suddenly you have this effect of it that every time you touch it just becomes better and better and better. It's a bit like interest rate in a way in a bank account, if you're paid interest rate. Yeah. Sort of for me, the inconsistency is the consistency. So, the inconsistency is the constant change, and they're looking to adapt. They're looking to be better. Not just sticking with what we know works now, because a month later that doesn't work anymore and it's too late now to change it because everybody else is doing it. So by reviewing and changing, and it isn't just us in HQ, that the meeting, we have regular meetings with the teams weekly to sort of say, how was it? What could make it better? What would you change? A lot of the ideas that we do and implement come really from the teams, from, bar back all the way up through the system. So, because of that, obviously it's allowed us to adapt, make service better, because they're on the front line, they're serving people, they're talking to customers, they know what they want, they know how service could be better, quicker, regardless of, training with radar systems and speed of service and stuff like that. They just see it, they're working through it. So we've really, really, made that a huge emphasis on, listening, talking to people, and helping us make the right decisions as a business over the past couple of years. But that will not change for us now. We're always looking to be better, and we'll always continue to do that. Is there like one example you can give of where you think you got an idea from the front line and you haven't even in the wildest world thought about this initiative?
To be honest, there's things every single week that come in terms of different things like that. As I was mentioned earlier, sort of looking at, like, for example, an energy project of, sort of how we can save money and other things like that. We have things like lights on times and all sorts of little bits and stuff like that. And some great ideas come from the management meeting on Tuesday in terms of, well, why do we do this? Why does, for example, we have slush machines. They have slush mixing. They put them in before peak shifts. leave them in, they're refrigerated, they're constantly turning overnight. And somebody said, well, why are we doing that? Why are we leaving them on? Why can't we just put the mix in the fridge overnight instead of having 2 bits of kit running? You've got one bit of kit running. So it seems silly that something so small, it's such a fantastic idea, because, that's 7 nights a week, you've just halved the usage on one thing or one element of the business. So, that will make a big difference for that site of, maybe £200-300 a year on energy. If they can come up with 10 ideas, that's a few £1,000 in the bank, which is amazing. So, the teams know more than what we do in terms of the sites on the ground and stuff like that. So we'll never stop doing them regular weekly meetings, talking to them, being completely transparent, whether that be figures, whether that be direction of the business, whether that be the board reports. We share our board meeting reports with the teams. Nothing's hidden. Everything's there. It's a family. Everybody's part of that.
I think a great example at the minute is that one of my projects is having a little look at the staff handbook, looking at what we can do to improve essentially working guidelines and what we can offer as a company. And that's something that that's something that the team are going to be completely and utterly vital in. It's been passed out to all of the teams to come to me with ideas for essentially create your perfect company, create your dream company. What would you want to work for? What benefits would you want? What all of the things. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to say yes to all of them, but if we can get all of this sort of these ideas over from the teams, then it's not just us going, oh, isn't this great, and pushing it over to them and saying, look who you work for. It's a case of, right, you've spoken, we've listened, this is the company that you work for now, and this is what we can offer. So I think, that's always going to be, as Grant said, it's always going to be the case that there's not much that we put through without either getting a sort of idea from or an okay from the teams, if that makes sense. We're good in that sense.
It's super interesting, because that's also in a way to kill the old model of top down, to actually get people involved. And I think everybody's aware that you can't have everything you wish for, but actually that you're allowed to wish is like a huge things for people, and many people don't expect that in their workplace. I think I really like that idea there.
I may come to regret sending that down to Flynn to do, but I'm sure, I'm sure we're really going to be able to change that to make during the expansion as well. That we're really wanting to do over the next few years. We really want people to want to work for us, and without working for us and seeing the culture, you need to be able to show them in a way, and in a way, the staff handbook and the benefits and stuff in a way starts to show them that culture from outside in before they become part of it or visit one of the venues as well. So it's important to get that right and, really look after the teams, but be able to attract some fantastic people to the business as well.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on. So one of my last questions here to you is, and I don't know if there's one of you that has grabbed this one or you share it, but what is your top advice? You can probably give a couple, because you too, to business leaders out there from your learnings, because it sounds like you're on a good route. There's maybe some great overall advice to give out there that people can go and have a think about in their business.
Yeah, I think we've talked about team a lot, but I think listen to the team, take on board their ideas. The team should be at the forefront of the business. The people deliver the sales. The people are the business. Without the people, we won't make any money. We won't make any profit. We won't expand. So invest in the teams. They will invest in the business, and the rewards will come back, and then it's like that spiral. It's one of the things we do in the induction, there's the business, the team deliver the sales, the sales come into the business, and then we feed that back in. So, training budgets, learning development, and, you don't get that without great people and looking after the team. So it's definitely the team for me. I could mention loads of other things, but, I think if you have a fantastic team, you have the sales, you'll have a fantastic business.
I think for me, number one for me, which always has been, is just don't take it all too seriously. There's life outside of business, and I think if you're not experiencing life outside of business, then you can't bring any new exciting ideas into your business, because you don't know what's going on. You just, as we say, you're just looking at that kind of day to day, what do I need to do? And I think COVID showed us that more than anything. You know, everything shut down for 2 years, and everyone's okay in the grand scheme of things. You know, and I think it's a case of, you know, that's 100% what we like to push down to the teams as well. Is, you know, any 90-day plans or anything that they've got to kind of focus on work-wise always includes a personal goal. We want them working on something outside of work, away from here. You know, we don't call them on days off, emails on days off, all that kind of stuff. And it's the same in HQ. We don't sort of pester each other when we know we're on holiday, which is something that I've come from in the past that really does affect you. You know, if you know you can switch off, so do it, switch off.
Yeah, because it's so important to rest before you have to perform again. Great, that's some great advice there. Where can people find out more about you guys? Where's the best place to go if they want to be inspired or just want a good night out?
Well, I mean, obviously, like I mentioned before, we've got seven fantastic venues in Leeds. You know, it's soon, very, very soon, we'll be in Liverpool, and we'll be trading a site in Liverpool. But, you know, it won't stop there. The plan is to be in as many, you know, big university cities as possible moving forward. We have that plan to grow. We're on track with it. We know where we are. Flynn's doing a great job of building a new store openings team to really get the team involved in every new opening, regardless of where that is. We'll use our team to go across to train all of the new employees and sort of get everybody sort of really drove into the culture, really, and what we're really trying to achieve, which we feel is the most important part. So yeah, so keep an eye out. We'll definitely be coming soon, but all of our websites have some great videos on, some great experiences of what you can really see when you visit the venue.
Great. Thank you so much, both Flynn and Grant, for taking the time to tell about your fantastic journey and how you came out stronger on the other side. I send you and the team power and energy for the time ahead.
Thanks very much, Michael. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you, and it's been great.
Thank you so much, Flynn and Grant, for your great insights into how you have found new ways to boost your people's engagement and performance. Now ask yourself, what can we do to boost our people's performance and engagement? And if you want to learn more about how to build a place people love and support, tune in to episode number 167 with Dan Simons, co-owner and CEO of Farmers Restaurant Group, on slowing down to go deeper. A big thank you to BeSimply for supporting us, bringing great insights, strategies, and tools to help leaders to become better every day. Check them out at BeSimply.com or visit their social at BeSimply or BeSimplyHQ. You can also email them directly at podcast@BeSimply.com. Thank you to Fina Charlton, who is the show producer and editor from the Podcast Collective. I really appreciate that you're listening. So if you enjoyed today's conversation, please share, rate, review, or subscribe to one of our channels, which all can be done via the website hospitalitymavericks.com. And if you have any ideas or feedback for the show or other thoughts, reach out to me via LinkedIn or via my email, michael@hospitalitymavericks.com. Tune in next time for another interview. And in the meantime, find out more about us and subscribe to the weekly newsletter, Maverick Talk, via hospitalitymavericks.com. I'm Michael Tingsam, and you've been listening to the Hospitality Maverick podcast show. Be Maverick.